Well, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this second plenary session of the 21st IISS Manama Dialogue on the theme Securing the Gulf, Diplomacy, Economics, and Defense. We have four great friends of the Manama Dialogue process and of the IISS and of the Kingdom of Bahrain here to address this comprehensive issue of security in the Gulf. First, of course, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of our host country, Dr. Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani, with whom the IISS has worked very well, even before he became the Minister of Foreign Affairs, as GCC Secretary General, and in his previous important roles here in the Kingdom. It's always a pleasure to welcome here Said Badr bin Hamad bin Hamud Al Busaidi, the Foreign Minister of Oman. Oman has been a great promoter of international diplomacy. We, by the way, are honored regularly to host a small conference in Muscat every year, trying to bring together the countries of South Asia. And we missed Said Badr last year, but happily we have been able to get him here again. And Oman has played such an important role recently in all forms of regional diplomacy. It's a pleasure to have the Foreign Minister of Greece, Georgios Geropetratis. He's here also with his National Security Advisor, Thanos, who's been a member of the IISS for 30 years. So I hope you'll ultimately achieve that record as well. We have a great relationship with Greece. And as I mentioned during the special address we just had, the IISS published a very important dossier on energy economics in the Eastern Mediterranean, and we're grateful for all the input we got from Greece. And Luigi Di Maio, who comes again as a special representative for the Gulf region from the European Union. Some of our panelists in the first plenary were asked, is there enough bandwidth, in essence, for Europe to play a constructive role in the Middle East, given the challenges it has on its own continent? And I think, Luigi, your mandate is to ensure that happens. So with that lengthy introduction, but one that served the ancillary purpose of setting you in the room, could I please ask the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Al Zayani, to address this second plenary?
In the name of God.
And thank you for chairing our panel today. I'm really honored to be with our distinguished ministers, our friends. It's quite an honor, and thank you, my friend, the Minister of Oman, Badr, for really making the effort to join us today. He's very busy, but he made sure that he will be present only for this panel. So really, thank you. Thank you, sir. Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to welcome you all to the Kingdom of Bahrain for this 21st edition of the IISS Manama Dialogue, a forum which reflects Bahrain's enduring commitment to dialogue and diplomacy as the only truly effective means to resolve conflict. The theme of this session underlines that true security, whether for the Gulf, the Middle East, or globally, is multi-layered and requires sustained and genuine collaboration among nations. Security must be built on a vision aligned with the aspirations of our region's peoples, a vision where diverse religions, cultures, and beliefs coexist in peace, where differences do not mean division, and where our shared humanity compels us to ensure equality, dignity, and opportunity for all. Bahrain firmly believes that conflicts are best resolved through understanding and dialogue by fostering an environment where communities unite to confront common challenges. Education and cultural exchange are vital. They foster tolerance, nurture trust, and ensure that every voice contributes to shaping the future. Fundamentally, security means protecting national territory, safeguarding citizens and infrastructure, and preserving our global connectivity through freedom of navigation, cybersecurity, and the unhindered flow of trade and information. In Bahrain, we are convinced that enduring security depends on genuine cooperation with our regional and international partners. We take pride in our defense cooperation with our GCC brothers and international partners through coalitions to counter terrorism and piracy, enhance maritime security, and build capacity. Bahrain's role as host of the Combined Maritime Forces, a coalition of 47 nations, securing vital maritime routes in the Arabian Gulf, the Red Sea, and the Gulf of Aden, exemplifies this commitment. Additionally, the recent establishment of the Arab League Council of Cybersecurity Ministers highlights our proactive approach to emerging threats. Such cooperation is further reinforced by agreements such as the GCC Joint Defense Agreement, which states that an attack on one is an attack on all, or the recent bilateral defense agreement between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, making our collaboration the cornerstone of regional stability. True security cannot be achieved by a single nation acting alone. Ladies and gentlemen, economic development and integration are essential for achieving true security. A fragmented region beset by economic instability in which people's aspirations remain unfulfilled can never be fully secure. But by fostering economic interdependence, we can provide immediate benefits for our citizens while reinforcing trust and cooperation and make conflicts less likely. This is clear within the GCC, where we are advancing toward completing the customs union and establishing a common market, laying the foundation for full GCC citizenship, whilst deepening global trade and investment ties, including the conclusion of a free trade agreements with international partners. Another practical example of this interconnection between prosperity and security is the Comprehensive Security Integration and Prosperity Agreement, CCPA, signed between Bahrain and the United States, and subsequently joined by the United Kingdom. CCPA embodies a simple but enduring truth. Our shared security is inseparable from our shared prosperity. And we hope this framework will include more partners who share our vision for a rules-based, cooperative order in the Gulf. Drawing all these threads together is the role of effective diplomacy. Diplomacy that respects sovereignty, advocates for non-interference, promotes peaceful settlement of disputes, and fosters good neighborly relations. This vision, upheld and advanced by Bahrain's leadership, will continue to guide our foreign policy as we look to build coalitions for peace, through which we can work collectively to achieve a more secure and stable region. Excellencies, at the heart of the Middle East's enduring instability lies the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Without a just and lasting resolution, it will continue to undermine all efforts to achieve genuine security. We are therefore greatly encouraged by recent fruits of international diplomacy on Gaza, the adoption of the peace plan presented by President Trump and supported by the work of regional mediators. This could represent a pivotal moment, as the first phase has already brought a ceasefire, the release of hostages and detainees, and the delivery of humanitarian aid to Gazan civilians. The plan can form the foundation for a peaceful, stable, and prosperous Gaza, which could facilitate a broader regional peace. What is needed now is a renewed commitment to diplomatic efforts to ensure that all parties fulfill their obligations comprehensively and in good faith, supported by all those countries who yearn for peace in the Middle East. Because ultimately, a secure and prosperous Gulf and Middle East will remain an elusive goal unless the Palestinian people achieve their legitimate right to an independent and sovereign state, living in peace and security along Israel. This objective must be complemented by the resolution of the Iran nuclear file through renewed negotiations between the United States and Iran, aimed at addressing regional concerns. We must also support Lebanon in implementing the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1701 and the Taif Agreement. Assist Syria on its path toward ability and stability. Back the efforts of Saudi Arabia and Oman to advance peace in Yemen, and support the Quartet in mediating a peaceful resolution in Sudan. Distinguished colleagues, the concept of securing the Gulf encompasses a complex and interdependent web of factors, from the physical defense of our nations and the protection of our sea lanes, to economic diversification, to the exercise of responsible and principled diplomacy. As Bahrain assumes its non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council next year, these considerations will be at the forefront of our minds, while collaborating with global partners to ensure not only physical security, but also to foster lasting trust, cooperation, and peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister Zayani, for also reminding us the plethora of issues that need defense diplomatic attention, and for recalling for this audience that in January you take your seat up at the UN Security Council, so we'll have 1/15 share in global security management from there. Thank you very much. Said Badr Abu Saidi, the floor is yours.
Shukran.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, dear colleagues, I wish also to extend My thanks, first of all, to the Kingdom of Bahrain and the International Institute for Strategic Studies for organizing this dialogue. I am really glad to be able to contribute. Every year, this event provides an excellent platform for all of us to express views and listen to a variety of perspectives. This diversity of ideas, of thought, no doubt will benefit us all as we unite around the conviction that stability is always fostered through dialogue. True security cannot be achieved through policies of isolation, containment, and exclusion. True security requires inclusivity, and history provides ample examples of this. Since the revolution of 1979, Iran has been seen as a threat. It was believed that Iran sought to export its revolution and destabilize its neighbors, and that the best solution would be a policy in which Iran was isolated and contained. In Oman's view, this was never a solution. Since around 1989, we observed that Iran has shown openness to rapprochement with the West and the desire to integrate into a regional status quo. And by engaging constructively with its neighbors, Iran could demonstrate that it is not a threat but a committed partner in fostering regional stability and cooperation. During the invasion and occupation of Kuwait in 1990, Iran demonstrated, in our view, considerable restraint. We saw this as a sign of its readiness to engage, and we advocated a collective and comprehensive regional security structure, optimistic that Iran might be included. Looking back, I believe that if such a structure had been established, the war that followed in 2003 could have been prevented and many lives could have been saved. The policy of containment persisted, and Iran remained viewed as a threat and an outsider in its own region. No serious effort was made to include it in regional security dialogue. The only positive developments in the following decades came through diplomatic and economic engagement. Exactly the kind of engagement that the policy of containment resisted. Earlier this year, as many of you know, Oman was hopeful that such engagement would again benefit regional security. During 5 rounds of US-Iran nuclear talks, we made very substantial progress. But just 3 days before the 6th and possibly the decisive round of talks, Israel unleashed its bombs and missiles in an illegal and deadly act of sabotage. This was shameful, but unfortunately, it was not surprising. We have long known that Israel, not Iran, is the primary source of insecurity in the region. Israel's deliberate efforts to prolong tensions had, in this case, killed hundreds of Iranian civilians. But Iran responded with remarkable restraint, just as it had when Israel bombed its consulate in Syria, injured its ambassador in Lebanon, and assassinated a leading Palestinian negotiator in Tehran. Over the years, the GCC has at best sat back and permitted the isolation of Iran. I believe this needs to change, and it needs to change now. Oman has long hoped for a more comprehensive mechanism for dialogue with all states in the region, including Iran, including Iraq, including Yemen. This would strengthen the security efforts of the GCC, no doubt. It would reflect the fact that Iran also has a real and legitimate stake in the security of the Gulf, so is Iraq and Yemen. And it would place us all in a much better position to address other pressing challenges, such as maritime security, drug and human trafficking, and climate change, to name but a few. How can we have regional security if major regional players are excluded from the conversation? How can we have regional security if major players are excluded from the conversation? Inclusive dialogue promotes harmony, mutual respect, and deeper economic ties, creating incentives for restraint that containment or zero-sum approaches cannot achieve. Failing to engage constructively and in good faith with Iran, with the Houthis, and others will not resolve issues like proxy wars, human suffering, or nuclear proliferation. On the contrary, exclusion fuels conflict, extremism, and instability, worsening exactly these challenges. Only an inclusive regional security framework can effectively address shared challenges, leverage collective resources, and pave the way for a more stable and prosperous future for our peoples. Thank you very much.
Saeed Badr, thank you very much for that call for inclusivity, and I'm sure in the question and answer period there might be points made about how one ensures a consensus amongst the 6 countries of the GCC to work in support of a safe Yemen, a stable Iraq, and a friendly Iran. And if such a consensus can be created within the GCC, perhaps it can be widened to other actors that have played a role in the region. But with that, could I invite the Foreign Minister of Greece to address this second plenary?
Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to address the Manama Dialogue, a pivotal forum for fostering dialogue and cooperation. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the Kingdom of Bahrain and to the International Institute of Strategic Studies for organizing this important and timely dialogue forum. And above all, I would like to thank my dear friend and brother, Dr. Al-Zayani, for his leadership in responsible diplomacy and his warm hospitality. The theme we are discussing today, securing the Gulf, diplomacy, economics, and defense, is both urgent and far-reaching, because securing the Gulf means securing energy flows, global trade, technological development, and ultimately human lives. Let me be clear from the outset. Bahrain and the rest of the Gulf states today are not merely regional players. They are global players, and they have proven this not only through their economic reach and energy leadership, but through active diplomacy and forward-looking investments in technology, education, and green transition. The Gulf, with its strategic location, energy reserves, capital flows, and diplomatic outreach, will play a key role in our shared future. In this endeavor, Greece offers itself as a reliable partner, a nation rooted in rule-based diplomacy, respect for international law, steadfast defense, cooperation, and the belief that shared prosperity forms the best foundation for peace. A maritime nation committed to freedom of navigation and protecting trade routes, and a hub for energy, connectivity, and logistics across regions. We meet today at a critical juncture. After 2 years of conflict, there is a glimmer of hope for the Middle East. I wish to commend President Trump on his commitment to promoting peace, as well as Egypt, my dear Sameh, and Qatar, whose role in mediation has been instrumental for the last 2 years. The release of all living hostages is a great relief for the whole world, as is the fact that the guns have partly, at least, silenced in Gaza. The peace agreement is a crucial first step for a political solution and Israel's full regional integration. This would provide a dividend of peace for all countries of the region through economic cooperation and interconnectivity. We're looking forward to the implementation of the next phases of the plan, including recovery and reconstruction of Gaza, as well as a comprehensive political process towards a two-state solution. Greece, an integral part of geography of the greater region with deep historical and cultural ties with all people therein, will spare no effort to support this process. Greece is in a unique position to contribute to the implementation of the plan, given its strategic relations with the Gulf countries, with Egypt, with Israel, its long-standing support and cooperation with the Palestinian Authority, as well as its role in the UN Security Council. Promoting sustainable peace, stability, and prosperity in the region is a key priority for my country. Yet, challenges remain. How to ensure security or governance in Gaza, how to oversee disarmament, how to link reconstruction to regional integration and international investment. These are tasks that the international community, and especially the Gulf states, given their capital, their legitimacy and regional position, must play a central role in solving. Full engagement by the Gulf states in security reconstruction, de-radicalization, capacity building is absolutely necessary. Dear friends and colleagues, Greece aspires to become a bridge between Europe and the Gulf region, leveraging our historic, cultural, and strategic connections to the Arab world and Israel. Our approach is multidimensional: economic, diplomatic, energy, security, cultural, and we're making concrete progress. On defense, we see ourselves as natural security partners of all Gulf states. Our deployment of Patriot missile systems in Saudi Arabia exemplifies the deep trust and their commitment to safeguard regional security. We have embarked on as many as 19 joint initiatives with Saudi Arabia aimed at enhancing military cooperation, including joint projects in military industry, as well as offering specialized training. Similarly, our joint action plan and strategic partnership with UAE focuses on foreign policy and defense, including joint military exercises, intelligence sharing, and coordinated efforts to enhance maritime security. Participation in multilateral exercises such as Medusa 13 underscores our belief that the Gulf security is inseparable from European security. Maritime security, in particular, remains a cornerstone of our strategic engagement in the broader Middle East. With one of the longest coastlines in Europe and the largest merchant fleet in the world, Greece's commitment to safeguarding freedom of navigation is both a fundamental national interest and a critical element of regional stability. Uninterrupted flow of maritime trade routes through strategic choke points like the Red Sea and the Bab el-Bagher Strait is essential for global commerce at large. Recognizing these imperatives, Greece has highlighted maritime security as a core priority during our United Nations Security Council term, and in this vein, we have taken a leadership role in Operation Aspides. We intend to intensify our efforts regarding the maritime security priority within the Security Council, alongside with the Kingdom of Bahrain, which we will welcome in exactly 2 months from now as elected member of the Security Council. Congratulations, my dear brother. Dear colleagues and friends, the establishment of new trade and energy corridors between Europe and the Middle East is essential. These corridors will not only reinforce our mutual interests, but also deepen the interdependence, creating shared stakes in peace and prosperity, and opening the way to further integration among continents. Greece aspires to become Asia's gateway to Europe. In this context, we strongly support the expansion of the Abraham Accords and the India-Middle East-Europe corridor. IMEC is more than an economic concept, it is a strategic security infrastructure. Our broader objective is to establish the Eastern Mediterranean as a hub of stability, connectivity, and integration. In this vein, our foundation is already very strong. The port of Piraeus ranks among Europe's busiest. Additional Greek ports are being privatized and upgraded to enhance multimodal logistics. Almost 55% of our energy mix now come from renewable energy sources, and our target is 80% by 2030. We're advancing electricity interconnection projects which will contribute to energy security and green transition, the Gregi project connecting Greece and Egypt, the GSI project connecting Cyprus, Israel, and Greece, and we have signed an MOU on energy cooperation with Saudi Arabia. Also, Greek companies already operate across the Gulf countries in infrastructure, services, health, digital, and energy sectors. Connectivity, physical, energy, digital, human is the backbone upon which security, prosperity, and regional integration can rest. Distinguished colleagues, the challenges we face are transcending borders. All types of challenges today are cross-borders, be that conventional armed conflicts, climate crisis, the cyber attacks, the food insecurity, water insufficiency, migration. They cannot be treated by a single state or an alliance of states. In spite of this, multilateralism is now retreating. What we need is partnerships, vision, and shared purpose. I call on all of us, Arab states, European and Western partners, international institutions, to recognize that securing the broader region is not only a regional imperative, but it is a mission of global relevance. And we need to revisit the basics of international cooperation, the peaceful settlement of disputes, deliberative dialogue, and intergenerational solidarity and sustainability. Let us build together a new architecture of diplomacy, economics, and defense, one capable of delivering stability today and prosperity tomorrow. Thank you.
Many thanks for that quite extraordinary review of Greece's interest and activities in this and the wider region, and in particular, you're reminding us of the aspirations around IMEC. I remember being present when President Mitsotakis in New Delhi in front of Prime Minister Modi about 18 months ago really pressed this hard. If there's a chance to revive in new circumstances that IMEC activity, I know that Greece would take a special interest in it. With that, the European Union, it's your turn to speak. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you very much, Sir John. And first of all, Highnesses, Excellencies, let me thank the Kingdom of Bahrain for this invitation, and in particular, my very good friend, Mr. Al-Zayani. Thank you for your words, for your remarks. And as you said, cooperation and diplomacy is at the core of the security of our regions, of both regions. As European Union, we consider the security of the Gulf and the security of the Middle East, the security of Europe. There are no doubts on that. We are so interconnected. Our economies, our people, our security and defense systems are so interrelated that we cannot avoid to work together. And on that, the key word, in my opinion, if we look at the title of this panel, how to secure the Gulf, the key word, in my opinion, has to be region-led processes. If we look at the future of the equation of security of the Gulf and the broader Middle East, the point about how to build this equation of security has to go through the region-led processes. The Minister, His Excellency, the Minister of Oman, mentioned the important mediation that Oman facilitated between US and Iran. And I think this is a very important symbol of how we have to deal even towards the several issues that are in the region, supporting our partners in the region in order to achieve a sustainable peace. In the past, we know there were many deals about that, but sometimes the mistake was to make these deals above the heads of the regional actors. The support, the consensus from the region is very important for any kind of initiatives in cooperation and diplomacy. I think that this equation of security, looking from the point of view of Europe, goes through three important paths: state creation, state building, state transformation and protection. If we look at state creation, obviously the most important thing is the Palestinian state. Our initiative as European Union with Saudi Arabia of launching the Global Alliance, I see Dr. Radmon here present, we are very proud of that, because the phase one of the Trump plan was very important for achieving the goal of a ceasefire, and I would like to thank Qatar and Egypt for achieving this for pushing and for keeping the hope in achieving this goal for several years. This phase one is instrumental to work on the phase two, that is obviously to reconstruct Gaza, to create a governance, to have a governance, to the disarmament of Hamas. But looking at the future has to be the two-state solution. And for that, as European Union, with the countries of the Gulf, with the GCC, we are working a lot in this direction, even with our member states, like France, that together with Saudi Arabia, they had the New York conference, and now we have a New York declaration. State building, Lebanon, Syria, Yemen. Our interest is the same when it comes to the stability, to reinforce the institution of these countries, to create a prosperous future for the people of these countries. On that, I would say the engagement is very high between our member states and the member states of the GCC, but even between the European Union and the GCC regional organization. And state transformation and protection, on that the vision programs of the Gulf are really impressive, very attractive for our companies. We are facilitating more and more engagements between our business communities, but in the awareness that we are not only making business. We are connecting our societies, we are connecting our entrepreneurs, we are connecting our workers, our managers. We are creating a common future, even because when I look at the vision programs and our programs in Europe, the ambitions are matching a lot. We really appreciate even the effort of the GCC of resonating as a more and more united community, as we are doing the same in Europe. The GCC vision for regional security, I had the honor to attend the presentation, is something very important because it looks at a common initiative for regional security more and more towards the Gulf, the Middle East, and our mutual interest. I think that we are in a similar phase where we are trying to keep more and more united our communities when it comes to defense and security. And then the multilateral cooperation. The countries of the Gulf were very instrumental even in exchange of prisoners between Ukraine and Russia. Our main issue in Europe, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and their role in trying to achieve a sustainable, lasting peace. It's very important. We attach a lot of importance on that. And finally, when it comes to preventive diplomacy, we are very proud that with the GCC as European Union now we have this program of training training together our young diplomats. I think this is the future of our diplomacy, to have the opportunity more and more of having our young diplomats together in training and simulations and working together. And in a day when they will be head of missions, they will work together in the awareness of knowing each other more and more. Economic security, it means many things, but in my opinion, it means to free our goods, to free the movements of our people. And the GCC and the single member states of GCC, they know very well how we are working on the liberalization of our markets in bilateral and regional processes and the liberalization of the visa. Last year, we just achieved the goal of a visa multiple entries for all the GCC citizens, that it gives them the opportunity of applying for a visa when they want to come to Europe, having a validity of 5 years. It's not enough, but it testifies how we want to connect more and more our people that is at the basis of the peace and the security of both regions, in my opinion. Finally, defense. We are not yet at that stage as Euro-GCC relations, but we are having a very important exercise that is called Structured Security Dialogue at senior officials level. Our officials are discussing of how to work more and better on cyber, maritime security, on disaster preparedness, and many other issues. This is just a first stage of, I hope, inshallah, a more developed program in working even on the defense side together. We are having in both regions, because of the new threats, a very important strategic rethinking. This strategic rethinking on both sides might be even an opportunity for connecting more our co-investments in defense, our cooperation on maritime security initiatives, and so on. And finally, really, my last 10 seconds for my speech, we are looking just in 1 year at the second ever summit of the leaders in Saudi Arabia under the Bahraini presidency of the GCC. And as the Minister of Greece knows, we are working a lot in trying to create concrete deliverables for this summit, probably in the autumn of 2026. So we have 1 year for having concrete deliverables on all the issues I mentioned. And IMEC can be a very important vehicle for achieving these goals. And this is why I count on all of you, civil society, representatives, highnesses, in working together for achieving incredible, very important deliverables in view of the next summit in 2026. Thank you very much.
Luigi, thank you very much for having also just touched, even if very lightly, on the amount of hybrid and so-called gray area threats with which one needs to contend. Some gray area threats can be both bleak and black in their consequences, and a coordinated response to that is important, and also for touching on the vitality of people-to-people links that you touched on. I've got a lot of people who want to make points and ask questions, so I'll go through about 7 or 8, then come back to the panel for each of them to give their responses to them. You spoke about the younger generation, so could I ask first Mariam Azabi from the UAE, one of our young leaders here.
Your Excellencies, first of all, thank you for your contributions to this conversation. My question is to His Excellency Al-Boussaidi. Do you foresee a future of an inclusive security structure or even a dialogue for both Israel and Iran on a GCC level? And if not, can it be started with an economic level of partnership or even a conversation? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And from Bahrain, Nof Al-Wadi, also a young leader.
Good morning, Excellencies. So this year has been an unstable year in terms of armed conflict, which has even reached the borders of GCC countries such as Qatar, not once, but twice. done by state actors in a way that can only be described as a violation of sovereignty and thus a violation of international law. So while the GCC countries strive to be mediums and drivers of peace, how can the GCC countries be proactive and not reactive when it comes to maintaining its internal security and its defense systems? Thank you.
And from Bahrain, Mariam Al-Doseri.
Thank you, Your Excellencies. As you've highlighted, Gulf security today extends beyond traditional defense to include a strong economic dimension, from supply chain reliability to energy and food systems, financial stability, and technological resilience. How are Gulf countries in particular further integrating this economic security agenda into their national security strategies? And where do you see the greatest opportunity for international partnership in this context? Thank you.
And from the UK, Sammy Sampson.
Thank you, Your Excellencies. My question is, security is a mix of hard and soft power, and you very comprehensively covered the soft power aspects. What role do you think hard power deterrence has also in securing the Gulf, and what form does that take? Thank you.
And from Italy, Maria Luisa Fantapie.
Thank you, Your Excellency. My question will be for Minister Al-Busaidi, who strongly advocated for a more inclusive policies. And I wonder whether in this moment where many of the GCC states are actually looking more for boosting their defense rather than going to diplomacy, what can be realistically done to engage other GCC members to facilitate a return to the table of the negotiation between Iran and the United States?
And then from Oman, Hailana Al-Busaidi, please.
Good evening, everyone. This is Hailana Al-Busaidi, an Omani with a Greek name. Considering, my question is for His Excellency Sayyid Badr Al-Busaidi, considering the geographical location of Oman, what is Oman's position when it comes to maintaining maritime security within or without its borders, especially when it's known that Iran supports the Houthis with weapons?
Thank you very much. And from Jordan, Laith Al-Julini.
Thank you, Sir John. I have a question to His Excellency Al-Zayani. You mentioned that security requires a vision. Back in the days in 2010, Amr Moussa came up with the Arab Neighborhood Initiative, and the EU has the Southern Neighborhood policy. Does the GCC on the collective level see or envision some sort of a plan for the Khaliji neighborhood? The Gulf is surrounded with countries that have conflicts, suffer from sovereign debt risks. Do you have some sort of a collective vision to tackle these issues?
And from Bahrain, Hassan Al-Hassan.
Thank you very much, John. I have two closely interrelated questions for His Excellency, the Foreign Minister of Oman, Sayyid Badr al-Busaidi. The first, Your Excellency, is that Israel's strike on Doha in September, I think, clearly showed that in an age of international lawlessness, mediation can carry significant and grave risks. It just so happens that Oman is a key mediator with Iran and the Houthis. Has your appetite for mediation been dampened by recent events? My other related question has to do with Iran. It seemed as though in the lead up to the 12-day war in June that the GCC states and Iran, through their first ever ministerial, through high-level exchanges, even with the Iranian presidency, had reached some form of mutual understanding on non-aggression. Now that understanding seems to have collapsed when Iran chose to strike the Al-Udeid base in Qatar. What are you doing in Oman to help restore that mutual understanding, perhaps by renegotiating a set of more realistic and mutually agreeable terms? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And from the UK, Harry Dawson.
Thank you, Your Excellencies. If we talk in terms of practical action, recognizing the slippery slope of reductionism that this can lead to, what would you say is the immediate practical step that we can take to ensure a safe Yemen, secure Iraq, and a friendly Iran to achieve this truly collegiate region in the Gulf that we're all striving towards? Thank you.
And I'll take a couple more, maybe three, before I come back to the panel. Saudi Arabia's Khalid Ben Khalif, please.
Thank you, Excellencies. Quick question to His Excellency, Mr. Di Maio. I am happy to join your recognition that we successfully first of all, allow me to introduce myself. Khalid Ben Khalif, the Director of the Department of Europe at the Secretariat of the Gulf Cooperation Council. So I'm happy to share your recognition that both the GCC and the EU successfully established early last year our regional security dialogue, after which we identified at least 5 or 6 areas of cooperation, including counterterrorism, maritime security, non-proliferation, cybersecurity, and international organized crimes, as well as drug trafficking. Now the question is, how can we energize taking those areas of cooperation from exchange of views level to a more operationalized manner, especially following our first ever summit of last year, representing a major milestone in the history of 4 decades of relations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And from Egypt, Sarah Al-Manawi.
Thank you, Your Excellencies. My name is Sarah Al-Manawi, and I'm Egyptian-British working for NATO Strategic South Hub. My question is about the Gulf Partnership Framework. And we all see the Gulf manages to maintain partnerships across US, China, Europe, and even Russia. And now we've been hearing statements about having to approach Iran again with diplomatic efforts to stabilize relations. When these interests inevitably diverge, what principle guides the GCC alignment decisions, and in particular, how the GCC plans to handle the Western focus on Iran's nuclear file while also balancing bringing Iran back to the regional table? Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to disappoint a dozen people by only taking one more question from Fenella McGurty.
Thank you, Sir John. My question is for Mr. Di Maio. In light of the higher defence spending across Europe and the aim for much of it to be spent on European defence industrial capacity, what impact might this have on the potential for future defence industrial cooperation between European countries and those in the Gulf and the wider region, and the role that that plays in underpinning economic and security independence, as we've been discussing? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that is a very diverse and full set of questions and comments. What I think is best for us to do is to have the panelists speak in the reverse order in which they initially spoke. But I also want to apply the principle of proportionality here. So maybe a couple minutes for you, a couple minutes for you, and Said Badr, you might get 6 minutes here because so many came to you, and then Dr. Al-Zayani can conclude. But I need to respect the fact that there were a lot of questions on your very interesting proposal. So, EU first.
Thank you very much. There are 2 questions that are connected to my mandate, and the first one is about this structured security dialogue EU-GCC. It was not for granted that our officials were able to meet and to discuss such sensitive issues like counterterrorism, cybersecurity, and all the others that His Excellency mentioned. So I'm very happy about the fact that we, in 2 rounds of discussions, we already delivered very important common positions that are the basis for working to energize, as you said, this process. In my opinion, now we should continue the talks of the structured security dialogue, but probably we might choose one item and to try to go in a more concrete dimension. Obviously, my favorite one would be the maritime security. But I know that on that there might be different nuances, even because You know, we have two missions in the region, EU Atalanta and the EU Aspides. So I know that on maritime security, probably we need a medium-term process. But on the short term, counterterrorism or cybersecurity might be very interesting. To work together in order to try to connect now even at level of our member states, our intelligences, our universities, our ministries in charge for that, and to try to develop a common initiative. We know that US and UK in this region, they have more developed initiatives in this direction with very important programs. And we know that at the same time, there is a room for more cooperation in these fields between the European member states, the European Union, and the GCC. So let's choose, in view of the summit, one item, and let's go ahead concretely. Second, and the last answer, is about the future of the industrial cooperation in the defense sector. I have to say, this is something that is very on our member states, and the industrial cooperation between some member states of the European Union and some member states of the GCC is already ongoing and sometimes is even very structured. The point is that if we are looking both at a new dimension of strategic autonomy, where we have our historical allies that usually are the same, US, UK, but we want to partner more and more in this sector for co-investing in the new technologies, in the new tools for the defense cooperation, this is the right momentum. Then probably for achieving the goal will take years, but we have to start. This is why, in my opinion, this tool of the strategic partnership agreement that we just launched as European Union for partnering bilateral with each one of the GCC member states might be a very good tool for creating a framework of the new era of cooperation in the defense sector between GCC and EU. Thank you very much.
Many thanks. And Minister Geropetratis?
I will speak only for a minute and then allow for further discussion to those who have received many questions. I will be very brief and I will elaborate on one point, which is hard power versus soft power, which is, I think, of critical importance because what we see now is essentially the failure of the post-World War II international security architecture. As we can see, multilateralism is going downhill. I think the United Nations have failed to address critical issues concerning the two major wars, both in the Middle East and in Ukraine. And this allows further space for power to intervene. And the more the power is intervening, I think the more we transfer the actual legitimacy from soft power to hard power. And this is exactly the response also of the European Union to those challenges, because today strategic autonomy primarily means the defense capabilities. We have completely shifted from the idea that prosperity lies primarily with economy, and now we consider that prosperity essentially lies with defense. And this is, in my eyes, a total failure of the structure, the architecture that we have composed. And this is both in terms of structures. The United Nations, I think, have developed a structure which does not allow for effective decision-making, and the mere fact that we do not tend to act proactively. One can only see what is happening today in Africa. And we have the events in Sudan and in Tanzania, which probably in a few months or in a couple of years is going to be a new Middle East or a new Ukraine. Yet, we wait for those incidents to become a true conflict, a very deadly conflict, in order to respond. So lack of preemptiveness or foresighting has resulted in a transfer of essential power from soft diplomacy power to hard power.
Well, thank you very much. Said Badr, my AI tool here suggests that you got 4 questions directed to you and 5 to the panel of which you are part. That could be 9. Over to you.
Thank you very much. I would like to approach these questions from a wider perspective. First of all, John, I think you did very well in terms of picking right people for the questions because most of them are young. They represent the future. And I love that, the fact that most of these questions really rotate around the positive elements of where we want to be in the future, a better future. And I think a better future will undoubtedly really re-emphasize my point in my remarks about inclusivity. We need to begin within. When I say that, it is the region, and the region is not just composed about 6 GCC countries, it is also composed about our neighborhood, which includes Iran, Iraq, Yemen, and others, even India, Pakistan. They are all part of our region. And I think, as the famous, well-known saying, charity begins at home, we need to really address these questions within and then expand it to encompass our neighborhood, our immediate neighborhood. I think when you asked about proactive GCC, yes, we are all in favor of a proactive GCC. We are all in favor of a more interconnected partnerships within, but also with our partners everywhere, whether it's Europe, the United States, elsewhere. Someone asked about hard power versus soft power. I mean, I am in favor of more soft power. Hard power for what? Who's our enemy? Who are we going to fight? I really think our enemy is our ignorance. That is the #1 enemy. And to overcome ignorance, we need to talk more frankly among each other in terms of our region and also with our partners elsewhere. We need to be frank. We need to address these things in a more proactive, constructive way. There is more that can unite us than divide us. There aren't answers to every question. There will never be. But we need to work harder on the positive elements that unite us, that really makes us friends to all, where we want to prosper and achieve a win-win solutions for all these issues rather than only focus on the negative elements. Of course, we have appetite for negotiations, for dialogue, wherever that is possible. We want to return to the negotiations between Iran and the United States. And someone asked about the strike on Qatar. Well, the answer to that needs us to just look at the reasons and the causes for that strike. Why did Iran did that? Certainly, they didn't start it. They didn't start that war. So I think that is a very easy, really, answer to that question. I think we need to advocate for dialogue. We need to advocate and keep advocating for a better, more regular understanding about the concerns among us, and try and build the concept of confidence building and trust between Iran and the GCC through engagement and dialogue and regular dialogue. With Yemen, the same thing. With Iraq, the same thing. With everyone else. So really, I think confidence building is a must to try and begin to really understand each other better for the kind of coexistence, peaceful coexistence we want to achieve. And finally, really strategically speaking, we all know the #1 important pillar of stability for the long term is the resolution of the Palestinian issue. I think that has to be a fundamental, central theme where we should all put resources towards it, because resolving that issue in a just way and bringing and delivering justice to the Palestinian cause is a very, very important pillar for the long-term security and the sustainability of security for our region.
Saad Badr, thank you very much. Might I just ask you one more question that did come from some on the floor? Concerted regional diplomacy is usually aided by a common threat perception. And we know that there have been times within the GCC where there have just been very different threat perceptions about Iran that one hopes would be easily included in the region. So what work can the GCC within itself do proactively to harmonize those threat perceptions, without which concerted diplomacy towards Iran might be absent?
Exactly the same recommendation that we have been advocating for so many years, particularly since the invasion and the occupation of Kuwait, where we have come up with a structure, a proposed structure, to have a very structured, regular framework of engagement with Iran and Iraq and Yemen to that extent. But that never really took place, unfortunately. And I still think that is a very important, prerequisite to try and mitigate the concerns that you have alluded to.
Saeed Badr, thank you very much. And I'll close with our host country, Dr. Al-Zayani, recalling, of course, that there have been times within the Manama dialogue where that platform has been available to Iran, Iraq, Yemen, and one hopes it could be again. Dr. Zayani.
Thank you, Sir John. I think I'll start by answering the question on the vision, whether it's a collective vision. I think my answer will be it is really a comprehensive and collective vision. The vision is by just talking to the normal people in the streets of the Middle East. What do they really want? They want a region where all the peoples in the region live side by side, despite their differences in religion and ethnicity and ideology, in a safe and secure and prosperous region where the future generation of the region can prosper together. They can trust each other. And for the current generation to live and let the future generations to inherit a region that has that potential of achieving peace and security for all the peoples in the region. When we say all the peoples in the region, that means it's all inclusive. And we really realize that the security and stability of the Middle East affect the stability and security of Europe and of the world. And that's why I think it is really interconnected with the strategies in all the areas surrounding and close to the Middle East. And when we say all the people, we mean all the people of the region. That's the vision we would like to achieve. But to do that, we need to resolve the conflicts in the region, as I indicated in my remarks. The core and the cornerstone of achieving any peace is really resolving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But to resolve that, we need to also work on Gaza and resolve the problem in Gaza, uphold the ceasefire, support the efforts of the United States, led by President Trump, to achieve peace in Gaza. Then move into achieving a peace between Israel and Palestine, and tackling comprehensively all other issues and conflicts in the region, which are known to all. The question was on proactive and defense. I think what His Highness Sheikh Nasser covered last night, talk about the CCPA, is the catalyst, is the instrument that we believe can lead into having a collective effort and restructuring the security structure of the Middle East. The agreement is global, it's international. As was indicated last night, it has 3 pillars: defense, economic and trade, and science and innovation. It will bring the people also all together. Such agreement augment and complement the regional agreements, such as the Joint Defense Agreement for the GCC and the Arab League, and we can build on that to achieve the persuasive defense. But that leads me to the question raised by Sami, which is the hard force, the deterrence, achieving deterrence. I think no more deterrence is only by flexing the muscles or by increasing the footprint of the military. Even though it is an integral and very important element of achieving deterrence, but I think now deterrence is a combination of many variables and many factors, such as diplomacy, a very hard, directed, cooperative diplomacy can act like deterrence and can contribute to the deterrence. The economical power and ability of the region will include in increasing the deterrence. Cybersecurity, technology, science, innovation, the national will, where you are providing to the people and people are united in achieving objective. All of those elements together, plus many, will contribute in achieving deterrence. I don't believe that deterrence is only hard power, but it also includes soft power.
Thank you very much. I think that's a wonderful note on which to end. We live at a time when too many act tactically and too few think strategically. I think we've had 4 persons here thinking strategically with the aim of acting strategically. Please, all of you, thank them for their presentations and their dialogue.